Good morning. It is Monday, the 8th of December. I'm Maeve McMahon, and this is Europe Today, Euronews' daily live fix of European news and analysis. Coming up today, Elon Musk has said the European Union should be abolished for issuing his social media platform X with a fine of 120 million euros. But the Commission says this fine is a response to several violations of its Digital Services Act. It's the first fine ever issued under this landmark legislation that aspires to keep Europeans safe online. This, as the US administration warns in a controversial national security document, that Europe must change or face civilization erasure. For more on this story, let's turn to Maria Tadeo, Euronews EU editor. Good morning, Maria. Bring us up to speed on this story. There's a lot to digest this morning.
Well, there's a lot, and the EU really caught up in this vortex over the weekend, which, as you say, really started on the Friday morning when the US put out and Europeans found out about this national security strategy. In this document, the US does say Europe is a natural ally, but they also argue in unusual language. To some extent, we could question whether or not it's diplomatic that Europe has to go back to its former greatness. It also argues that illegal, uncontrolled migration, bad economic policies, too much regulation, all of this put together could end the European civilization as we know it. The document presented by the US also welcomes European patriotic parties who they argue are resisting this trajectory, and the US, they add, should help contribute to change this trajectory. Obviously, this is unusual language. It's not shocking. It's not really surprising because it builds up really on the speech that the US Vice President J.D. Vance gave at the Munich Security Conference. The only difference, of course, is that it is now in writing. I should note, however, over the weekend, I spoke with European officials who told me, look, this document has little to do with national security and a lot about what they perceive is political interference. Now, the second part to this has to do with Elon Musk. The Commission fined X 120 million euros for breaching transparency rules in the European Union. The fine, the amount, I should note, it's quite small compared to other penalties on U.S. big tech. Nonetheless, it triggered a big response from Elon Musk, who's been tweeting about the European Union all over the weekend. He started, and hopefully we can put it up on the screen, saying the EU is not a democracy. It has become a bureaucracy. It should be dismantled. Abolish the EU. Quite strong language. The Commission is still defending this fine, saying it is appropriate. They believe they have a strong legal case, and if he disagrees, he can take it to court in a court of justice, of course.
And Maria, how's the EU been responding to the unprecedented language from the other side of the pond, from, in theory, their biggest ally?
Yes. And, you know, when we look at the EU as an institution, very timidly, no word from the head of the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, no word from the head of the European Council either. But we did speak with Kaja Kallas, the Foreign Office Chief Policy from the EU. She told us the way to look at this is that domestic issues have to be dealt by the EU. On external matters and conflicts, we should still work together with the United States. Let's take a look.
Let's focus on the things that we can do together. I mean, what we can take from that security strategy is that we are still, allies with America. We don't always see eye to eye on everything, but it's our internal matters we can handle ourselves. Let's focus on the global challenges that we actually have, which are, economic cursive practices from China that we are both, faced with, which is the threat that comes from malign actors like Russia, like China, like Iran. So we definitely need to focus on what we can do together and domestic issues. Let them be our domestic issues.
And that was Kaja Kallas speaking to Euronews. Note how she said 3 times these are domestic issues. That's for the EU. The capital's much stronger language. The French foreign minister saying the Commission is right, and this is just a start. The Polish foreign minister, much stronger language. He tweeted directly at Elon Musk saying, go to Mars. There is no censorship for Nazi salutes there. Obviously, that's a reference to another controversy as to whether or not Elon Musk had made a Nazi salute at a rally at the start of this year. But Maeve, what we're seeing, of course, is a lot of cacophony because there is no single strategy in terms of how to deal with the United States at this point. For the EU, the institution, I repeat, it has been so far about de-escalation, hoping to stabilize the relationship, although that's not really been the case. The tariffs went ahead, NATO 5% on Ukraine, very difficult situation. But for the time being, the strategy continues to be don't engage publicly.
Indeed, a very tricky time for the transatlantic tie. Thank you so much, Maria Tadeo, Euronews' EU editor, for that. And if you're listening to Maria's analysis there about Elon Musk and thinking you have seen this movie before, you're right. It is not the first time the EU and Elon Musk find themselves in the online boxing ring. Our reporter Jakub Janis has this refresher.
Over the weekend, there was yet another battle between the EU and Elon Musk, who claims the European Union should be dismantled. It sounds extreme, but if you look at the timetable, the bells have been ringing for some time already. Let's go back to July 2024. Musk claimed Brussels offered him a secret illegal deal to censor speech. Fact check. It was a standard compliance procedure offered to every platform, but Musk used it to frame himself as a victim. Then was August 2024. The European Commission sent a formal warning letter to follow EU law. In response, Musk tweeted a very non-diplomatic meme from the movie Tropic Thunder. In late 2024, he told German voters to back the far-right Alternative für Deutschland. And then he attacked Italian judges on migration, claiming they need to go. And his current battle is against the €120 million fine for his social media platform, X. However, the fine is not about supposed censorship, but about consumer fraud. It means selling verification to anyone, including bots, actively blocking researchers from seeing public data, and hiding who actually pays for the ads you see. Given that the penalty is well below the maximum possible fine, we need to ask one question. Is the game you play, Elon, actually about business? Or maybe it's about something else?
Jakub Janis there. Well, coming up, we'll be joined by Swiatłana Cichanouska, the exiled opposition leader of the Belarusian Democratic Movement, who emerged after challenging Belarus's authoritarian leader Alexander Lukashenko in the 2020 presidential election. Forced to flee her home country, she now dedicates her time to advocating for democratic Belarus and resisting the regime's role in Russia's war against Ukraine. Swiatłana Cichanouska, great to have you with us here on Europe Today.
Good morning.
Welcome to Brussels. First, how is your husband Sergei doing? He was released this summer after many years behind bars in Belarus.
He's going through the process of rehabilitation because all the political prisoners are really exhausted physically, but he's not broken mentally and give a boost of energy to our movement.
And of course, it was thanks to the Americans that helped orchestrate his release. We saw Keith Kellogg there engaging in dialogue with Lukashenko. Do you trust them now to help end the war in Ukraine?
Look, we all want peace. And of course, I'm so grateful to President Trump personally and his team for releasing political prisoners from Belarus. But of course, the future of our country depends on the outcome of the war in Ukraine. And of course, we all want just and long-lasting peace, not just, temporary relief to give opportunity to Russia to regroup and start attacking again. But also what is important for us is that during these negotiations, Belarus aspect is also included, that Belarus is not given an escalation prize to Putin, that Belarus will not lose our independence. And that's why we need strong Europe as a player in these negotiations that will be the voice of Belarusian people.
Because a bad deal for Ukraine would be detrimental, I imagine, for Belarus.
Absolutely, yes. We understand that if Ukraine loses this war, hopefully it will not happen and will keep strong alliance around Ukraine, it will mean a status quo for Belarus for ages, and Russia will continue to subjugate our country.
But how would you describe the current talks taking place? We saw 3 days of talks in Florida this weekend. There was no breakthrough. Are they really peace talks, or are they more surrender talks?
It depends on the strong position of Europe. First of all, of course, President Trump, he might want fast peace in Ukraine, but for us it's more about security architecture, it's about region, it's more than about only Ukraine, it's about all European neighborhoods, Moldova, Belarus, Georgia, Armenia, so on and so forth. So that's why here Europe has to remain with its strong, bold and firm position and defending and protecting all our region.
Do you think Europe has been too weak so far in these talks?
I think that Europe is much stronger than it might seem. It might think about itself, but we maybe need more unity, more boldness, because any hesitation or undecisiveness is perceived as weakness by dictators. And now we see that Russia, together with the other regimes and Lukashenko, they are testing the borders of Europe.
Well, we can see that. I mean, the EU has been furious as well with these balloon incursions coming into Lithuania declaring a state of emergency. Yeah. The Belarusian appointee here in Brussels being summoned by the Commission. What's going on and what's behind this?
Now, all these meteor balloons and drones, it's part of hybrid attacks on Europe, the same as migration crisis and hijacking of airplanes, so on and so forth. So we see how dictators are trying to constantly blackmail Europe just to see how far they can go without a strong response. And in our case, I think that it's very maybe effective tool to close the borders for trade, for goods, but not for people. Just be tough on the regimes, but be very open for the societies.
And Belarus, Lukashenko, he's also been weaponizing migration. We've seen a lot.
Yeah, it's last many years already, and these migrations attacks are continuing. It's also one more tool in dictators' hands, how to weaken or test or blackmail our Western neighbors.
And finally, President Zelensky will travel to London today. He'll be sitting down with Friedrich Merz, the German Chancellor, President Macron of France. Any expectations for those talks today?
I hope that it will be unity around Ukraine, about our region, that Ukraine will be given everything they need to win this war. We don't have to follow President Trump's path, because his approach is more transactional, but we have to think more strategically about security architecture for years ahead.
Okay, Swiatłana Cichanouska, thank you so much for coming into us today here and speaking to us on Europe Today. Well, meanwhile, this Monday in Brussels, EU justice ministers from all across the bloc will be gathering for talks on the implementation of the EU Migration Pact. Their gathering takes place after reports came from Crete this weekend that 18 people lost their lives trying to cross the Mediterranean Sea. Ida Sanchez reports.
Migration management in the EU takes a big step this Monday. For the first time ever, 4 EU countries will receive direct help. Italy, Greece, Cyprus and Spain will benefit from a so-called solidarity pool, set up to better manage migration flows. From relocations to cash injections, countries should be able to rely on this support. But until ministers make a decision today in Brussels, the proposal made by the Commission is just an idea. As how much and who will pay is still the big question on the table. One thing is clear: under the new Migration and Asylum Pact, no country will be forced to accept relocations. This was one of the most controversial points of the proposal. Countries like Poland and Hungary completely oppose the idea. Last month, the European Commission presented their first annual report on migration flows in each country. They identified who they thought needed support. The so-called solidarity mechanism, one of the most controversial parts of the Migration Pact, will be applied from June 2026.
And for more on the outcome of those talks in Brussels today, keep an eye on Euronews.com. But that brings this Monday's edition of Europe Today to an end. Thank you so much for tuning in and for being with us. We'll be back, of course, tomorrow morning again with another episode. So see you then and take care.